The World Today weekend on CKNW News Talk 980. Once again, here's Sean Leslie.
Oh, yeah, Little Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. LSD. Of course, the Beatles were very enthusiastic about LSD in the late 1960s, as were many others. It's a drug that many, I think, of my listeners have probably experimented with when they were younger. I mean, I was always too scared. I don't know, my God, it might cause me to freak out or do something crazy or maybe damage my brain irreparably. Who knows? Well, now some in the medical community are arguing that LSD might actually have some beneficial effects in treating some forms of mental illness. Andrew Feldmár is a psychologist based in Vancouver, and he joins me now. Hi, Andrew. How are you?
Hello, Sean.
Thank you. Did I set that up well? I mean, is it true that there is the potential of using LSD for beneficial purposes?
Of course, and that has been widely known for over 40 years. It just has been suppressed, forgotten, and now we are trying to remember again.
Why has it been suppressed?
God knows. Obviously, people waking up is more dangerous for the powers that be than putting people to sleep. The pharmaceutical industry basically puts people to sleep, anesthetizes them. The so-called great medicines, like LSD, wake people up. You know, it's like between children and parents. Parents always want their children to go to sleep. Children always want to wake up their parents. It's an eternal struggle. We've been asleep for over 40 years. Duncan Blewett, who was the head of psychology department in Regina, where the first experiments were done with LSD way back in the early 60s, he wrote in one of his books that LSD to psychology is like the telescope was to astronomy and the microscope was to biology.
Really?
So to suppress LSD would be tantamount to prohibiting the use of microscopes or telescopes. We've known that, as I say, for over 45 years.
Okay, if you wanted to now prescribe LSD to a patient, would you be legally allowed to do that?
Of course not. Neither in the United States nor in Canada is it allowed. You have to get special dispensation. Here in Vancouver, Dr. Ingrid Pacey, a psychiatrist, and myself are ready to do a study with MDMA. Now, that's much milder than LSD, ecstasy, which is very beneficial in the treatment of people with post-traumatic stress disorder. We had to wait for Health Canada to approve, first of all, the study, and then allow us to bring a minuscule amount of MDMA, pure MDMA, in from Switzerland. It took us 5 years.
5 years?
Just bureaucratic red tape.
And you're saying it can have a beneficial effect to treat PTSD, which, as we know, is a growing problem, particularly for veterans and other survivors here in Canada. You're saying
Absolutely.
MDMA could help those people?
Absolutely.
What does it do that traditional drugs, or that, I guess, maybe I should say the legal pharmaceuticals don't do?
Well, as I said, let's say MDMA. I'll tell you three things that it does. Number one, it allows you to be present, and you don't know how much you're not in the present until you actually arrive. So it presents you, number one. It allows you to exist without shame. And again, you don't know how much you're sitting in shame until for a moment shame dissolves. And number three, it opens your heart. And again, you don't know how close your heart is until it opens. So it's a shocking realization. Within half an hour after taking MDMA, you're present, your heart is open, and you feel no shame. So you can immediately deal with traumatic memories. You actually trust the person who is there beside you. You can actually mourn and grieve what happened, and you can leave it behind. It can save 5-10 years.
Really?
in psychotherapy. Yeah.
It'll say 5 to 10 years of psychotherapy.
I would imagine.
And yet, as you say, it's illegal to prescribe it here. You said you got some from Switzerland. Is it allowed to be prescribed in Switzerland?
No. There are a few countries where it's easier to obtain for experimental purposes. But I don't think that at this point LSD is legal like a prescription drug anywhere. But you see, it wouldn't have to be, it couldn't be. MDMA and LSD couldn't be just a prescription drug. One of the benefits of big pharma kind of drugs is that the doctor doesn't have to spend any time with the patient. You prescribe it, the patient takes it home, and numbs himself out with it. Like antidepressants. Basically, all they do is that they make you not care. See, if you care and nothing works your way, then you're going to despair. But if you don't care, well, then you feel better. But it doesn't solve your problem or anybody's problem. Whereas with LSD or MDMA, the doctor can't just prescribe it, you take it home. If I were working with somebody and used LSD as an adjunct to psychotherapy, I would have to do preparation. I would have to stay with the person for at least 5, 6, 7, 8 hours, and then there would have to be follow-up. So it's time-consuming. And in this day and age, we don't have time. We have to be efficient. And you know what? Love is not efficient.
You mentioned PTSD. What about other mental illnesses like anxiety or depression?
Let me correct you. There is such thing as mental illness. That's, again, over 40 years ago was clearly made. Either there are brain diseases or people have problems in living. Mental illness is just a very bad metaphor.
Okay.
Okay, so are there other afflictions? Yeah, everything. Depression. It can help you with the anxieties of present-day life. Or if you have a progressive fatal illness, like you're dying of cancer, it can help you to overcome the dread of approaching death. You name it, it can help you with.
I had always heard that taking LSD actually increased your risk of developing, and you're going to tell me I'm wrong, I'm sure, but this is what I was told growing up, that taking drugs like LSD would increase your risk of developing schizophrenia or other serious malorders.
Yeah, of course. It's like, they used to tell me that if I masturbate, there will be hair growing out of my palm. It's that kind of stuff you heard.
So you're saying that's a myth?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
absolutely. It's to scare people off from seeing. Look, people who have seen what's going on, even just once, you can't manipulate them. You can't exploit them. Capitalism has no use for people who are awake.
What would you like to see the federal government do here?
I would like the federal government to bring these drugs very quickly off the prohibited list, put them on a list that can be prescribed with the proviso that whoever orders them and uses them would be trained. I gave a talk about how to train future psychedelic therapists. Because otherwise it's very dangerous. With all these drugs, the mindset is very important, and the setting, including the person who attends, is extremely important. So people would have to be trained. So I would want the federal government to set up training programs for psychiatrists, psychologists, psychotherapists, social workers, so that whoever gets trained and passes would be able to use these drugs. I wouldn't put it in the water supply, Like I'm no Timothy Leary.
I have to say, given this government doesn't even really like marijuana for medicinal purposes, I think you might have to wait for a new prime minister to get any action on that.
Yes, I am waiting.
Andrew Feldmár, great to talk to you. Very eye-opening stuff. Thank you very much for coming on.
You're very welcome. Bye-bye.
Andrew Feldmár, psychologist in Vancouver. What do you think about that? LSD, get it off the prescribed list, and allow trained psychologists and psychiatrists to prescribe it and help administer it. Love to hear from you. Send me an email, sleslie@cknw.com. Clearly, I don't know much about the topic. If you do, I'd love to have you open up my mind. sleslie@cknw.com, or you can tweet me at SeanLeslie980. Speaking of people putting people to sleep, we're going to talk about putting people to sleep. Hopefully not right now. After the break here on CKNW News Talk 980.